inspired group. What does that mean, a core al-Qaeda group?
They think it's very possible that this could have been an al-Qaeda-inspired group, some group that is not directly affiliated with the hierarchy of al-Qaeda, but does support the aims and ideals of al-Qaeda.
And what about the U.S. warships, Chris, that are heading toward Libya right now? Where are they, and are those extra U.S. Marines already on the job, or are they being deployed?
The extra Marines are on the job. One of those warships is now in position off the coast of Libya. The other is en route and should be there within the next day or two. And now the attention is turning, with another embassy breach in Yemen today, to what happened in Benghazi and whether anything could have been done to prevent it. Was the U.S. consulate in Benghazi adequately protected? The State Department is defending its security plan.
A robust American security presence inside the compound.
Libyan security guards man the outer perimeter. As you move further in, there are contract guards hired by the State Department. U.S. special agents are the last line of defense inside the hard line. A congressional source says during the attack, at least 4 State Department security guards and 6 Libyan government guards fired at the attackers. Another 8 to 10 American security guards were at an annex building 2 miles away.
We determined that the security at Benghazi was appropriate for what we knew.
And just last month, a security briefing provided to Congress found the number of security disruptions is smaller than might otherwise be expected in a post-conflict environment awash in weapons and dominated by dozens of armed groups. A quick reaction force of 50 Marines arrived Wednesday and are guarding the main U.S. embassy in Tripoli. But a former diplomatic security service agent says temporary setups like Benghazi don't usually get Marine guards.
It's not viewed the same. You don't have standards that are put into place, which include setback from the roads and ballistic window film. So when you start looking at these temporary kind of arrangements, it's very, very difficult to kind of protect.
He says there were other factors in going with a smaller security footprint.
There's a lot of politics that's going on behind the scenes with the various rebel groups, who's in charge of the country on any given day, the relationship that we have with the Libyan government, the perception of committing U.S. Marine Corps, regardless of the fact that they're there fulfilling a very specific duty. It becomes very, very political.
We're told the investigation into what happened will ask the questions about the vetting that was done for the Libyan guards. Always difficult in a situation like that where you're post-war, but the country is still very unsettled. We also know that several U.S. troops and units around the world have been notified they may be moved to U.S. embassies around the world to beef up security if needed, Wolf.
Chris Lawrence watching this important part of the story. Thank you. Meanwhile, U.S. diplomatic missions around the world, they are potentially bracing for trouble. President Obama has ordered all U.S. embassies and diplomatic posts to review security and increase it if necessary. CNN's Foreign Affairs reporter Elise Labott is here in the Situation Room watching what's going on. Sort of reminds me of what happened in 1979 in Iran when there were protesters outside the U.S. embassy, and eventually, as we all know, they went in, took American diplomats hostage, held them for 444 days.
Well, Wolf, that's right, but things have changed a lot since '79. As you know, now congressional regulations mandate that embassies overseas are much more fortified than they were in '79, and they have a lot more security measures, setbacks, things like that. But the U.S. is very concerned about these type of protests in Libya, Egypt, also hearing about possible protests in Sudan, and we've seen what happened in Cairo. So what they're happening now is they're having emergency action meetings. Every post is reassessing their security. White House has said whatever you need, if that's additional personnel, Marines on the ready, and working with the host governments. They could be more setbacks, more barbed wire, or even more personnel from the local forces.
And what have U.S. diplomatic personnel, embassy officials, been told to do?
Well, in a lot of cases, they've been told, if you don't have to come, don't come to work. Work at home, telecommute, work from a cafe. it might not be so best to have all of our personnel in the embassy right now. And they've been sending out numerous messages to U.S. citizens overseas in areas where they know there's going to be some protests to say, listen, stay away from the embassy. If there's an emergency, we'll come find you.
And what are embassy personnel doing to try to calm down some of those protesters and tell them, you know, the U.S. is not the enemy. They've got other issues to deal with?
It's a real administration-wide effort, Wolf. You know, State Department diplomats are combing social media websites, online sites, trying to counter this negative information about this film, about the Prophet Muhammad, to say, listen, the U.S. is not responsible. We've seen the Muslim Brotherhood, for instance, on some of its Twitter feeds, putting out messages of condolence on one, calling for protests on the other. They're also working with host governments to say, listen, we've stood by you through these revolutions. You need to stand by us and make a stand. And lastly, they're talking to imams. They're really concerned about Friday prayers tomorrow, looking to make sure that nothing gets out of hand.
Because in the coming hours, this could dramatically escalate. Absolutely. As we get closer and closer to those Friday morning prayers. Elise, thanks very much. Disgusting and reprehensible. That's how the Secretary of State Hillary Clinton is labeling that anti-Muslim film. But can she convince the Islamic world that the U.S. Can't really do anything about it? And a major move to boost the U.S. economy, what it might mean for your money and your job.